been waiting long enough to see the things I've dreamed about. I've been too long in one place, now it's time to venture out. The great land is waiting, no more anticipating. I think that the time is now. The time is now for a great adventure. I need a change of scenery, a place to set my spirit free.
Time is now for the journey of a lifetime.
I hear the call of the wild. I've heard it since I was a child. I think that the time is now. I once was told a story by a long-forgotten friend about a rugged wilderness where wonders never end. I never quite believed it, but now I want to see it. I think that the time is now. The time is now for a great adventure. I need a change of scenery, a place to set my spirit free.
Time is now for the journey of a lifetime.
I hear the call of the wild. I've heard it since I was a child. I think that the time is now. I know that the time is now. Aha! Well, welcome to our show, Voices of Alaska. Laura and Bill here for the evening show tonight. And this is a show we wrote several years ago that pays tribute to all things Alaska, the beauty of Alaska, the music, some of the prose and poetry, and a little bit of information. It's kind of a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of information.
Ooh, nice.
It's a nice combination.
I like that. Well, we are all responding to this journey in Alaska because we have answered the call of the wild.
Yes.
I think Alaska's nature, its wildness, its beauty, its animals, all of that speaks to us. We all are probably familiar with the famous book written by Jack London called The Call of the Wild. Mm-hmm. There's a Alaska Klondike Gold Rush guy named Robert W. Service who comes along and writes all the great stories about it. He wrote a poem called The Call of the Wild. I thought it'd be a good way to kind of get us in the right mood. It goes like this. Have you gazed on naked grandeur where there's nothing else to gaze on? Set pieces and drop curtain scenes galore. Big mountains heave to heaven, which the blinding sunsets blazon. Black canyons where the rapids rip and roar. Have you swept the visioned valley with the green stream streaking through it? Searched the vastness for a something you have lost? Have you strung your soul to silence? Then for God's sake, go and do it. Hear the challenge, learn the lesson, pay the cost. Let us probe the silent places. Let us seek what luck betides us. Let us journey to a lonely land, I know. There's a whisper on the night wind. There's a star agleam to guide us. And the wild is calling, calling. Let us go.
Let us go.
Yes.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Now, Bill and I went up to Alaska for the first time in 2002, and then we were commissioned to actually write some songs about Alaska, which was not hard to do because it's a very inspirational place. So we're going to share a few of our original songs with you tonight, including this next song. It's called The Last Frontier because that is Alaska's nickname.
Let's get away from the everyday and make some memories that will last. Through history and mystery, exploring the stories of the past.
Let's take our time and see the beauty and feel the freshness of the air. To take a walk through untouched lands and forget that I ever had a care. I want to see a sky so clear where the mountains feel so near. We're headed for Alaska, to the last frontier. The midnight sun will shine as I hold your hand in mine. This land is wild and free, as you and I will be. Come with me to see the last frontier. It's a place of wild adventure, of beauty and of peace. A land of precious freedoms where wonders never cease.
I want to see the northern lights dance across the sky.
Feel my spirit soaring as I watch an eagle fly. I want to see a sky so clear, where the mountains feel so near. We're headed for Alaska, to the last frontier. The midnight sun will shine as I hold your hand in mine. This land is wild and free, as you and I will be. Come with me to see the last frontier. Alaska, the last frontier. I hope you enjoyed that song. That, as I said, was one of our original songs. We had this unique opportunity after working and living up in Alaska at Denali National Park, which was an amazing experience. We had an opportunity to do a tour all over the world.
Man, all over the world almost.
Almost every state in the United States, Canada. We went to the UK, and we went to Australia to spread our love and to spread information about the great land, about Alaska. And that's when we wrote some of the songs that you'll hear this evening. It is an amazing place. Let's tell them a little bit of the information part, Bill.
Why is it so amazing? Why does everyone want to go to Alaska? Well, Alaska is a native word, Alakasak, something along that lines. It simply means the mainland, or more literally, the object towards which the action of the sea is directed. The ocean coming up to the coastline, that's Alaska, that beautiful coastline. Mm-hmm. And it is a big, big place.
I think it's impressive. I mean, you're from Texas. And so we notice a lot of Texas folks are shocked to hear that if you were to split Alaska in half, Texas would be the third largest state.
Yeah.
Alaska's so big, it's more than twice the size of Texas.
I hate when you rub that in.
I know, I can't help it.
But it is a big place,
it's
absolutely.
Big. 586,000 square miles, 365 million acres, which means if you wanted to walk around Alaska and see it all, you'd have to do 1 million acres a day.
And you could see it in a year.
You could see it in a year.
Sure,
then.
just 1 million acres a day for a year.
It's giant.
That's like what, 20% of the whole United States landmass
Mm-hmm.
is Alaska?
Impressive. Lots of coastline. Of course, going on a cruise to Alaska, which is just so amazing and popular because of that inside passage area, which is about 1,000 miles long. And it stretches with islands on one side and the mainland on the other. So you get an experience on a cruise almost like you're on a river at times. And there'll be times where it's a little bit broader, of course, but so much of it you can see the land and that chance to see animals and the wildlife and the beautiful scenery all the time is a big draw, I think.
A lot of coastline to see. Alaska alone has nearly 34,000 miles of tidal shoreline. That's more than the entire lower 48's coastline. By the time you follow every cove and nook and bay and all the way up and around.
That's impressive.
Untouched beauty.
Mm-hmm. And that's why people go. That's why people cruise Alaska.
It really has not been developed very much for such a large place. The population's still only about 750,000 for the entire state, and almost half of those live in Anchorage alone. So it is the second largest internationally protected wilderness on the planet.
What's the first?
Antarctica.
Ah!
So if you can't quite plan a cruise to Antarctica, come on to Alaska. And I think a much more diverse scenery as well.
Yes.
Now, throughout the course of our virtual cruise experience, you're going to have a chance to learn a lot about Alaska. We're going to have a whole lecture series throughout the course of the trip. And one of those is going to be a feature about John Muir. Many of you may be familiar with John Muir. Sierras, Yosemite. He's considered to kind of be the father of the national park system. He loved Alaska, traveled up here just after the purchase of Alaska by the United States. In the last 20 years of the 1800s, he visited 7 different times when it was really rugged to get around up here. He traveled by canoe, by steamer, you name it. He experienced Alaska up close and personal. I want to get you in the mood for John Muir and get you in the mood for our presentations tonight with one of his beautiful quotes. Sailing is a fine mode of motion. Contemplating the scenery, we seem to feel the woods as we pass them, and hear their solemn chant as they rock gently. To the lover of pure wilderness, Alaska is one of the most wonderful countries in the world. No excursion that I know of may be made to any other American wilderness where such a marvelous abundance of noble newborn scenery is so charmingly brought into view.
That's good stuff.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Charmingly brought into view makes me think of one little aspect of going on an actual cruise to Alaska.
What's that?
Sometimes the view is obscured by a little bit of fog, a little bit of cloud cover.
It's not obscured, it's adorned.
Adorned. Oh, you're such a John Muir kind of guy. But we wanted to actually pay tribute to that aspect of Alaska. The coast of Alaska is a rainforest.
And that's part of what makes it so lush and so beautiful.
Yes.
So we're thankful for the rain, but you do kind of have to be prepared.
You do. So we put a little medley together about just that.
Oh, raindrops keep falling on my head, but that doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red. Crying's not for me, 'cause I'm never gonna stop the rain by complaining. But there's one thing that I know: the blues they send to meet me won't defeat me. It won't be long till happiness steps up to greet me, because I'm free and nothing's worrying me.
Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky. Stormy weather since my man and I ain't together. Keeps raining all the time.
Because when skies are cloudy and gray, well, they're only gray for a day. So wrap your troubles in dreams and dream your troubles away until that sunshine peeks through. There's only one thing to do: just wrap your troubles in dreams and dream your troubles. Dream your troubles away.
Sky smiling at me. Just a little tribute to the weather.
You take it as it comes.
You do.
And you cherish every single moment.
Some moments, some of those, my favorite moments were days where it was just a little bit foggy and just adorned, as you say.
It diffuses the light. It brings out the colors sometimes in the forest and certainly in the glaciers. We'll talk about that when we come through Glacier Bay.
Absolutely.
A cloudy day actually reveals the glaciers in even more dramatic and more beautiful light.
You know, as you go into the interior of Alaska, and that's where we first worked up in Alaska, was at Denali National Park. There is such a variety of things to do on the coastline and in the interior. Now, when Bill and I were living at Denali National Park, we didn't always agree on what he wanted to do each day or what I wanted to do each day.
And that's okay.
And that was okay.
I think everybody on vacation, and especially in Alaska, should do what they want to do.
Because there's so much to do. There really is.
And you can always meet back together and review your day and share your experiences while you watch the sun set on the mountains, what's called alpenglow.
Ooh, beautiful.
Oh, the colors.
That sounds wonderful. So we wrote a song about that very thing.
All right. I'm gonna ride down the river, shoot the white water wild.
I'll ride a lazy riverboat where the water's calm and mild.
I'm headed out to hike all the way to Wonder Lake.
Have a real good time, honey, I'll be at the salmon bake. But I'll meet you in McKinley under the midnight sun.
I'll see you at Denali when the day is done.
The The sun will set for hours, and we'll be there to see the alpenglow at midnight on McKinley.
On Denali,
At the mountain, you and me.
Well, I'm gonna soar around the summit, see the view from the sky.
I'll have my feet on the ground as I watch an eagle fly.
I'm off to pan for gold in a mountain stream so clear.
Well, I'm off to go shopping, so strike it rich, my dear. And I'll meet you at McKinley under the midnight sun.
I'll see you at Denali when the day is done.
The sun will set for hours, and we'll be there to see
The
alpenglow at midnight on McKinley.
on Denali,
At the mountain,
you and me.
That's a fun one to sing. We haven't done that song in a while.
That's for sure.
Oh my goodness. There's so much history as well in Alaska. I mean,
Well-
it's fascinating stuff.
Today especially, I think, is one of my highlights because we're in Skagway today. And Skagway is, of course, the access point to the Klondike Gold Rush. Late 1800s, just the last few years, gold found in the interior, I think over a ton of it was shipped back down to Seattle. And Seattle went nuts. This is during an economic depression in the United States, so everybody's looking for any kind of opportunity. Over 100,000 people stampeded towards the Great Land, headed towards only about 30,000 ever made it. Of course, you got a whole lecture to learn all about that.
That's right.
But the Klondike Gold Rush was one of those great, great events, and there were many gold rushes all throughout Alaska, from Fairbanks to Nome, that really drove the development of this region. Well, we've got to do a musical tribute to the Gold Rush era up in Alaska.
Yes.
And this one was made famous by Johnny Horton. Way up north,
North to Alaska.
way up north,
North to Alaska.
way up north,
North to Alaska.
way up north.
North to Alaska.
North
to Alaska.
Go north, the rush is on. North
to Alaska.
Go north, the rush is on. Big Sam left Seattle in the year of 92 with George Pratt, his partner, and brother Billy too. They crossed the Yukon River and found Bonanza Gold below that old white mountain just a little southeast of Nome. Sam crossed the majestic mountains to the valleys far below. He called to his team of huskies as they mushed on through the snow, with the northern lights running wild in the land of the midnight sun. Sam McCord was a mighty man in the year of 1901. Where the river is winding, big nuggets they're finding. North to Alaska, go north, the rush is on. North to Alaska, go north, the rush is on. Way up north,
North to Alaska.
way up north,
North to Alaska.
way up
North
north,
to Alaska.
way up north,
North to Alaska.
north to Alaska, go north, the rush is on. North to Alaska, go north, the rush is on. Well, George turned to Sam with his gold in his hand. Said, Sam, you're a-looking at a lonely, lonely man. I'd trade all the gold that's buried in this land for one small band of gold to place on sweet little Jenny's hand. 'Cause a man needs a woman to love him all the time. Remember, Sam, a true love is so hard to find. I built for my Jenny a honeymoon home below that old white mountain just a little southeast of Nome. Where the river is winding, big nuggets they're finding. North to Alaska, go north, the rush is on. North to Alaska, go north, the rush is on. Way up north,
North to Alaska.
way up
North to
north,
Alaska.
way up north,
North to Alaska.
way up north.
North to Alaska.
Oh, north to
Alaska.
go north, the rush is on. North to Alaska, go north, the rush is on.
Oh, I need a little something special for this next
You do?
song. I do.
All right, well, I'll set it up then. We talked about the Klondike Gold Rush passing right through Skagway. 100,000 coming up, only 30,000 made it to the gold fields. A lot of those were ladies. A lot of ladies came for the economic opportunities. Many gold miners doing laundry, running the restaurants and saloons and the hotels that began to grow and develop. Whole opera houses. Entertainment was big up there for a short period of time. And in that tradition, we are very proud tonight, folks, to have with us one of the great Klondike saloon girl singers, Miss Laura.
Well, hello there, everybody. How about a little music there, maestro? Come along, everybody, wear your brand new gown, 'cause there's gonna be a party in this good old town, where you know everybody and they all know you, and they've got a jazz band just to chase away your blues. When you hear that music start to play, all join round and start to step and sway, and when you get that rhythm, you're gonna stop and say, there'll be a hot time in the Klondike tonight. My baby, when you hear that bell go ting-a-ling, all join round and gaily you will sing. And when the verse is through, in chorus I'll join in. There'll be a hot time in the Klondike tonight. There'll be a hot time in the old town tonight. Woo! I think I would have done all right as a
You would have made a fortune.
saloon girl.
You would have
up
had
there.
bags of gold dust being thrown at you.
I would have been like Klondike Kate.
That's right.
Which, by the way, later on in the cruise, I'm going to do a whole talk on amazing Alaskan women.
Such a great talk.
And she's a feature in that one. And it runs the gamut. There's political women. There are women in the stories that are frontiers women. So I'm going to have a nice variety in that talk for you. But one of them was Klondike Kate. She was probably the most famous, so come back for her story. And I kind of imagine that she would have sung, being a red hot mama and all, she probably would have sung this song at some point. It's a great red hot mama tune. You gotta see your mama every night, or you can't see your mama at all. You gotta kiss your mama, treat her right, or I won't be home when you call. Now I don't like that kind of man who works on an installment plan. You gotta see your mama every night, or you won't see your mama at all. Monday night you didn't show. Tuesday night you claimed no dough. Wednesday night that same old stall. Thursday night you didn't call. Friday night you dodged my path. Saturday night you took your bath. Sunday night you had a date, and from the looks of everything I say that I don't rate. Hey you better show tonight, or you won't see your mama at all. You better kiss me, you better treat me right, or I won't be home when you call. Now I don't like that kind of man who loves on an installment plan. You better see your mama every night, or you won't see your mama at all. Cut out all the stalling, come in on some calling, or you won't see your mama at all. Woo!
Our very own red hot mama, Laura Sable. Well, we wanted to tell you a little Alaska history story that ties into our next song. You see, it was in 1926. Alaska was still a territory, and they didn't have an official flag yet. So they decided they would hold a competition and let school children make attempts at flag designs. They received 142 submissions, and finally the committee chose 13-year-old Benny Benson's flag design, and Benny described the design this way.
The blue field is for the Alaska sky, and the forget-me-not, an Alaskan flower. The North Star is for the future of Alaska, the most northerly in the Union. The Dipper is for the Great Bear, symbolizing strength.
Well, he had a great vision and a great design, just a beautiful, simple design of that on that blue background. Well, years later, a lady named Marie Drake, she was actually an assistant commissioner of education in Alaska. Well, she wrote a poem about the flag. And it was later set to music by a lady named Eleanor Dussenberry, which ties into today's visit. Eleanor Dussenberry's husband had been stationed at Haines, Alaska, and they came back years later after they had moved back to the lower 48 and visited Skagway. And at the Moore House, which is still there in Skagway, we'll feature that on our port highlights, she visited and stayed there, and the old upright piano, which is still there, she sat down and took Marie Drake's poem and wrote music to it. We've had a chance not only to visit there, but we got special permission to sit down and to perform that song that was composed right there on the piano in the house where it was composed right here in Skagway.
That was a wonderful memory for sure. It's a beautiful song. And both of the ladies were so excited in 1955 when they found out that it was to be the Song of Alaska.
8 stars of gold on a field of blue, Alaska's flag, may it mean to you the blue of the sea, the evening sky, the mountain lakes, and the flowers nearby, the gold of the early sourdough streams, the precious gold of the hills and streams, the brilliant stars in the northern sky, the Bear, the Dipper, and shining high, the great North Star with its steady light, o'er land and sea, a beacon bright, Alaska's flag to Alaskans dear, the simple flag of our last frontier. I think that is one of the prettiest state songs. I just love that.
Agree.
Gorgeous,
For
gorgeous
sure.
song.
Well, a true lover of nature and a true lover of Alaska was a man by the name of John Denver.
Yeah.
Might have heard of him, maybe. He had a pretty good career. And he wrote beautiful music, and he wrote a few songs about Alaska in particular. This next one, I just think captures the spirit of the people who live in Alaska, people who come to Alaska and make it their home. That's what the song's about.
When I was a child and I lived in the city, I dreamed of Alaska so far away. I dreamed I was flying over mountains and glaciers. Somehow I knew that I'd live there one day. It took me some growing and a fair bit of schooling, a little bit of trouble to get on the move. I felt like a loser, but I turned out the winner when I came to Alaska, the land that I love. Here's to Alaska, here's to the people, here's to the wild, and here's to the free. Here's to my life in a chosen country. Here's to Alaska and me.
I was born in a cabin on Little Mulchetna, raised in hard times, but I had a good life. From the first time I flew with my father singing, I knew that I'd wind up a bush pilot's wife. Now we sleep in the sound of a slow running river, and wake up most mornings to drizzle and rain. We live every day like the first or the last one, with nothing to lose and heaven to gain. Here's to Alaska, here's to the people, here's to the wild, and here's to the free. Here's to my life in a chosen country. Here's to Alaska and me.
And oh, for a fire on a cold winter's night, once more to gaze at the great northern lights.
For all of the beauty my children will see. Here's to Alaska and me. Here's to Alaska, here's to the people, here's to
John Denver could write some great songs. Get your toe tapping, that's for sure.
Oh my goodness.
Well, we've got a lot to look forward to this week, a lot of Alaska to celebrate and to learn about. Hope you'll click through all of the options and links that we've provided for you and explore and enjoy your own adventure through Alaska.
Absolutely. Well, as Bill mentioned before, Robert W. Service is one of those voices of Alaska. And he has written some very funny poetry, which we're going to share with you as we go along. And he's also written some really beautiful, poignant passages as well. And we'd like to close with this passage.
It's the great big land way up yonder. It's the forests where the silence has lease. It's the beauty that thrills me with wonder. It's the stillness that fills me with peace.
Alaska is an eagle that I want to fly across the sea of castles, reaching for the sky. Alaska is the part of me left unexplored. Alaska is the warming sun on a misty fjord. She is the mystery that I will never tame. She is Alaska, Alaska. Alaska is her name. Alaska is a story that my father told, of swift rivers running with salmon and gold. Alaska is so many things I have never known. Alaska is the great land calling me home. She is the mystery that I will never tame. She is Alaska, Alaska. Alaska is her name. Alaska is a river running wide and deep, sparkling with memories that are mine to keep. Alaska is the feeling that won't let me be. Alaska is the great land calling down to me. She is the mystery that I will never take. And sometimes in the dead of night, I swear Alaska calls my name.
We hope you've enjoyed this musical celebration of the great land. We've got lots planned for you in the coming days. Get ready to learn a lot, explore a lot, and savor every moment.